From the cringe-worthy Cats movie that didn't land on all fours, to Disney's failed adventure Strange World, gathering nearly $100 million in losses, there's no shortage of massive flops that cost their studios millions. It doesn't matter how many A-listers you gather, movies like Cats can still fail to walk, let alone run at the box office. And this wincing flick struggled to stand on even 2 feet. That's how bad it was. For a film with a whopping $100 million budget, the studios sure had hope. Universal Pictures even collected the best stars in the industry: Dame Judi Dench, Idris Elba, Rebel Wilson, and Jennifer Hudson, to name a few. It'd be criminal if I forget the brightest pop star in the group, the teen sensation, Taylor Swift. But guys, none of them mattered when encased in CGI that would give you nightmares. The terrifying human-like cats aside, the bloopers were too many to count. It makes you wonder where all the money went. As soon as the trailer dropped, Twitter had its claws out, and scathing comments tore the movie to shreds. The release didn't make things any better either. With desperate promotions begging for views, Cats managed to build up just around 70 mils. That's still $25 million short of the budget. And here, Universal had its fingers crossed for profits. Here's a lesson: you shouldn't adapt every theater masterpiece you can get your hands on, or books for that matter. But our next film was one of many movie adaptations to learn that lesson the hard way. Chaos Walking lived up to its chaotic title. This dystopian sci-fi flick was based on the celebrated novel The Knife of Never Letting Go. The book was about a town where everyone could hear everyone's thoughts. Not gonna lie, that sounded pretty intriguing until you try to visualize it on screen with weird blue bubbles. That's where the movie miserably failed. The lack of chemistry between the leads, deviation from the source, and an underdeveloped plot didn't make things any better either. Viewers and critics agreed it got mixed up in its huge potential. Despite a promising cast like Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, and Nick Jonas, no star power could save Chaos Walking from tanking. Even Mads Mikkelsen's chilling performance as the villainous mayor wasted away. Get this, on its first day, the $100 million budget film got just $3.7 million back, and the coming weeks had nothing spectacular to offer too. Overall, the best this film could do was make $27 million. Now that's way too embarrassing, given its massive budget. According to Variety, this loss was so staggering that it resulted in a write-down for Lionsgate. It put to rest any plans for a sequel following the next book in the series, probably a wise choice, and one our next film didn't make. There was no need for the do-over The Suicide Squad. In case it wasn't clear, I'm talking about the sequel. The least they could have done is come up with a different name. Not that it would have helped. James Gunn's artistic soiree didn't have much substance to offer. Yes, Margot Robbie was brilliant as Harley Quinn, Joel Kinnaman, John Cena, and Idris Elba were commendable too. But again, people asked, why are we getting another Suicide Squad film? It wasn't exactly a sequel or even a prequel. Just another attempt of trying to recreate the franchise's magic and falling flat on the face. And okay, if you are taking a risk, isn't $185 million an absurd amount to spend on it? Forbes writer Scott Mendelson likes to think so. According to him, the Suicide Squad didn't even reach the successful disappointment level, so Warner Brothers had to gulp a loss of around $120 million. But it managed to flip to the bright side, using the characters to earn back some profits. The lucky guy, John Cena's Peacemaker, got his stellar HBO Max series, and 2 more spin-offs, including Boss Lady Viola Davis's Waller, are in development. So it looks like they might make up for the lost money soon enough. Something similar happened with DC's other leading lady franchise. To put it bluntly, Gal Gadot's second ride in Wonder Woman 1984 was a disaster. Forget sticking her superhero landing, this Amazon demigoddess crash-landed at the box office to the utter shock of many. The franchise's first movie wasn't this bad, right? In fact, Wonder Woman was a blockbuster that earned 3 times its budget. That's what propelled Warner Brothers to greenlight the sequel. Unfortunately for the studios, the timing wasn't right. Pandemic delays completely messed up the release schedule. And don't get me started on the plot, it was disappointingly flat. Despite director Patty Jenkins' mad genius, and Gal, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, and Pedro Pascal's combined star power, viewers found the movie such a cliché. It failed to satisfy the fans who were hoping to be wowed. As a result, the movie badly flopped at the box office. Sources say Warner Brothers had to face more than $100 million in loss. So how did they manage to salvage it? Well, the same old HBO Max trick. The studio released Wonder Woman 1984 on the streaming platform simultaneously with its theatrical release. And hear this, it had to pay $100 million to both Patty and Gal to make up for their losses. Still, the move proved a bit more fruitful. The movie drove over 4.57 million users to HBO Max. But this combined release tactic may prove troublesome for the studio in the future, especially if they fail to collect at the box office. A $200 million budget is no joke, and the next Disney film had the same price tag over it too. But Mulan only managed to get $70 million at best. Yikes! Dishonor on you, your studio, and dishonor on your cow. That reminds me of the first mistake this live-action movie made, not including Mushu, the wisecracking ancestral dragon. The 2020 live adaptation spun the hilarious movie into an all-serious action film. And yes, there were some jaw-dropping fights in the 1998 classic too, but what fans loved about it was its comical touches and songs. If you take away the fan-favorite elements, you gotta pay the price. And Mulan did that by recovering just 30% of its staggering budget. I'll admit, one culprit behind that was COVID too. The movie fell prey to an early lockdown, so it couldn't deliver at the box office. But Disney had the same trick to mitigate that as everyone nowadays, the Disney Plus streaming service. It released Mulan as a paid premium rental on the platform to get back some bucks. Given how the audience is crazy about the classic animated flicks, they had to see what live action was all about too. So, legend has it that the studios earned back more than the losses. Speaking of legends, once upon a time, a fantasy action film was released to kickstart its franchise, but King Arthur, Legend of the Sword proved to be the only flick in the series. Why? Because it was a total dud in theaters and honestly, no one saw it coming. This 2017 movie had the Maestro Guy Ritchie in the directorial seat. The cast wasn't too shabby either. Charlie Hunnam was the young King Arthur, and Jude Law was the dark wizard/villain. Even David Beckham had some screen time. A $175 million budget was more than enough to create a magical outcome. But did it? Not even close. The film added an extreme fantasy aspect that overcomplicated the plot, like trying to create Iron Man but in the medieval age. You see how that would backfire, right? The franchise setup venture also overshadowed the movie itself. Even Guy couldn't offer his magical touch to breathe some soul into it. The result made more sense after all that. The glorious attempt to make a 6-movie series and create an MCU-like universe went down the drain, and it was again Warner Brothers, who lost over $150 million. This time, there was no redeeming it with a platform release. So it doesn't matter how massive the studio is, sometimes it bites more than it can chew. Just like the House of Mouse did with its ambitious animated flick, Strange World was supposed to be this new-age adventure film recreating the classic magic. But as it turns out, it became Disney's worst flop recently. Its cinema score dipped below any of its movies, breaking a 31-year winning streak. Whoa! But wait, the loss in numbers is even more jaw-dropping, folks. According to Deadline, the studio spent a whopping $473 million to bring the project to life. And what did it get? Just $109 million at the worldwide box office. Makes you wince, doesn't it? So what's the reason behind this epic failure? Well, not promoting it, for starters. This may be the first time you hear about Strange World, and it was released as recently as 2022. That's how under the radar it was. Next came its outlandish visuals, and more importantly, a huge controversy. This space film introduced a gay teen couple, and the viewers were not here for it. Many parents called out the children's entertainment company to push the LGBTQ narrative on kids, saying, "Make it too woke and it'll flop." The studios could do nothing but accept failure. It released the movie on Disney Plus just a month after the theatrical release. Still, it's unlikely that it covered the staggering loss. So from Strange World's less than graceful debut in the Disney Club, to Cats gathering an abundance of hate and financial loss, these were the biggest movie flops that cost studios millions.